Entonces se confirma la asociación civil como la entidad que sigue administrando. La preocupación es los costos de la transición o qué va a pasar después con todos los sueldos que dijo Greg que está él absorbiendo ahora, ¿no? Entonces, al final van a ver, la idea es que se mantenga esa cuota para 2014, cuando se acerque, cuando estemos en 2014, quizás en la próxima, de julio de 2014, verán si se tiene o no, que al final más construcción de casas va a haber que hablar. A ver qué surge.
Sí. Normalmente nosotros vivimos en México en un lugar, departamentos, hagamos mantenimiento, hagamos un poquito más para tener un fondo para cualquier emergencia.
Ajá,
¿Por qué no pasa esto?
Sí, sí lo tenemos, lo comentó. He's asking about the capital.
Qué bueno.
Sí está, de hecho, el reglamento indica que deben ser 2 bimestres. You're collecting the fund? He was mentioning that he lives in a condominium in Mexico City, and obviously there is a fund in case of any emergency, etc.
Yes, we are.
So you're collecting the fund.
Sí.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is discussion and, as applicable, approval of the appointment of new members that will form part of the Vigilance Committee and ratification of current members.
My name is Thomas. Hi, I'm Thomas, and my sweetheart and I, there we have a house on lot A19. I've been living in there for a year, more or less. I'm also a member of the Vigilance Committee, and I also have the doubtful honor to be the chair of the Septic Committee.
That's not a crappy job.
Oh,
The humor has been going down the toilet. So what we are supposed to do, as best as I understand it, having been handed this piece of paper about an hour and a half ago, we, as a homeowners association, should appoint members to the Vigilance Committee. Individual members of the homeowners association can step forward and volunteer to serve on this. As it reads now, and whoever can correct me, please do so. Currently, the members serve a 1-year term with a, much like the presidential elections, you can run for 1 more term, and then you have to go.
Translate. Pause to translate. I mean.
Yes.
Sí.
Es
Sí.
el comité de vigilancia.
Thomas.
Santo Tomás.
Santo Tomás.
Se llama Tomás, está en el comité de vigilancia, de hecho hace un año, y bueno, está también en el comité de séptico.
Sí.
Y la idea del comité de vigilancia es eso, vigilar lo que las cuentas del administrador. Es, I'm going to say in English, the idea of the Vigilance Committee, as you know, is to survey what the management is doing. Like, tienen que ser dueños, ¿no? Un administrador puede ser un externo. ¿Por qué? Puede ser the manager can be somebody external. You can hire, you hire a company, or you can, but the members of the Vigilance Committee must be owners. Y Tomás explicó que pueden estar por un año y pueden ser reelectos y después podrían estar. At the end, as long as you, as the meeting owners, approve and you're happy, you can
go
appoint
more than
whomever.
one.
Yes, at the end.
For many years.
Again, the minimum is 3 or 5, I believe. 3.
We have been meeting, goodness Mark, you know how often?
Once a month.
Once a month. So we actually stick with it. It's quite a busy job, particularly at this point, simply because there's a lot
Some
to
of
do.
it's via the internet, though, you don't have to be here.
Can we read the names of who are in the meeting? In the
Lane.
meetings?
Lane is a member. Stand up. Show your
I am
beautiful self.
a member.
There we go. He
Sucked
lends
into it,
weight
man.
to the subject. Jean, please. Jean
Los son los
Kelly.
miembros del comité de vigilancia.
He's our man with numbers. Smart guy. Todd over there behind the camera. He's our man of reason.
Gee, you got a smart guy.
Hawthorne's been added at the start. Of course, lends tremendous knowledge in matters of construction, because we have to read architecture plans and so on and so forth. We are learning quite a bit. Ray has been coming to our meetings for the last 6 months. He's a non-voting attendee. The reason for this is we thought that it would be very helpful for people to understand what we do, because you go into the first meeting and there are ongoing issues, there are things to catch up, there's issues to become familiar with. So 6 months doesn't have to be 6 months, a certain period of time just to get an understanding of what it is. And since Ray stepped forward and said, look, I'd like to come and help you guys, he actually needs to be ratified as a full voting member by this assembly. So we said, since we don't have an assembly, why don't you come and attend our meetings, familiarize ourselves, and he's been extremely helpful with it. So one of the motions that will be on the table is to ratify Ray for a 1-year term on the Vigilance Committee starting now, and to get things moving so we can have some tacos later. I would like to present this motion. If there's any discussion further, please speak up. If there's no discussion, please then don't speak up. Second the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Antonio.
Oh, yeah, I will get to that. I will get to that in a moment.
Okay.
All in favor, raise your hand.
Let me, before we vote,
Can we?
Yes, translation.
Sí, ok. Se presentaron los miembros del comité y el señor Rey ya asistió a una de las reuniones para estar enterado. La idea de esta moción es de que se apruebe su ingreso ya formal en las actas como miembros del comité. Entonces, si están a favor,
a favor.
one thing you need, and it was not done last meeting, you need to establish who's the president, the treasurer.
Can we do this? Can we do this? Right, this is just what let's do it internally, and we will present this because it's just going to be a headache. Nobody wants to be any of these.
Okay.
Now, let me continue. One of the homeowners that you all voted for last time to serve, Jedediah Shield, he resigned from the committee, personal reasons, and is anyway marriage and God knows whatever else. Anyway, so he's no longer on there. And Eileen, who I courted, I tell you, I courted her because we need women on this committee. And she said, I don't want to talk about this stuff. Goodbye. No, she had some valid reasons because she took on a very big task being the head of our non-profit, to which we will get in a moment. So we have Ray. I would like to ask here in this room for anybody else to come and join us. It is really a very important activity that not only teaches you how we function as a community, what we have to do in order to make things function. One of the reasons I like it to a term for no more than 2 years, because everybody should have a go at this. It demystifies the entire element. It empowers you tremendously because you understand the process of living in a different country, how we have to function, and so on and so forth. While I can't say that the meetings are catered with good food or ample alcohol, we may in the future do this, because right now they're just as dry as a bone. But please, guys, we would love it.
I just want to add that they're done also by conference call, so location is not important.
Okay, dos personas que estaban en el comité, Jedediah y la señora ambos renunciaron por esas razones, entonces también se tomó nota de esto y se propone, bueno, está la moción para ver quién quiere apuntarse a ser también miembro del comité de vigilancia. Lo que Tomás explicó es que es muy valioso, que él considera que debe ser cada 2 años cambiar para tener la retroalimentación de todos y que todo el mundo esté en esta posición que es importante.
También de añadir que simplemente es también, no tiene que ser físicamente presente, también por conferencias.
Puede ser vía conferencia, o sea, hoy en día con la tecnología no tienen que estar ahí, no hay alcohol y buena comida, pero eventualmente van a intentar que...
I want to, it consumes a little time, but it is really something important that we have to do here. I would encourage those who've just recently moved here and are here on a permanent basis to consider serving on the committee. I would love to have somebody who actually was born in this country and carries a Mexican passport to come and serve on this committee. Because I don't want to be a foreigner here. I want to be with the people who are here, and we have to deal with these issues collectively. So please think about this. I'm appealing to you. Raise your hand in the next 30 seconds so we can have you ratified and get going.
Solicita que sea alguien que ya se haya mudado recientemente. Maravilloso si es alguien que nació aquí. Ahí está. Okay, you know that.
I'm here. My dad is a lot owner as well, and he's expressed an interest in being involved. He's been involved with homeowners associations in the past. He's in the United States, so he's not living here permanently, but he would be open to that if that's, you know.
I have to figure out how we do this in absentia, as the lawyer
I've
would
got
say.
his proxy, so I got.
So you could.
You're Steve for that. Perfect.
I think you've got a volunteer, Terry.
We have Terry.
Wonderful. You
You replaced me.
well enough female.
We have yes.
You want a
Oh,
female, there you go.
excellent. Look, why don't we just move this along and get this job over with? We have a couple of tasks to do. I'm assuming that all of us who are currently serving on the committee are prepared to do this task for another year. However, we need your collective okay to do this. That includes the people that I've just announced. We need your okay to be ratified for 1 more year. I will repeat. Todd, you okay with this? Lane, you on board?
Good, I'm good.
Gene, you on board? Hawthorne? Thomas? No? So, out. Ray, you're, obviously this is your first session. We need you, the motion is, are we ratified to ratify us for 1 more
Ratifican estos
term?
miembros. ¿Alguien en contra o votan a favor? ¿A favor? In favor of ratifying these members? Okay, and now the new.
And I'd
new
make
two-
a motion, Terry, Mitchell,
And
Bob McCullough, Robert McCullough.
Robert McCullough, be, for a 1-year term, be put on the committee.
okay. Se
Absolutely.
presenta la moción.
Anybody second the motion? Aye, all in favor, raise your hand.
Okay, se
All right,
aprueba.
done.
All right.
See? Excellent. Thank you. That's it? I'm gonna sit down? No.
Need to, El Baño Jefe.
All right, down.
Very important.
Effervescentico. We have been dealing with the issue of wastewater treatment. While it sounds like shit, it actually isn't. It is a crucial aspect that we have to solve in this community. And some months ago, we decided to form a committee that focuses on studying these issues and research and come up with some viable solutions. And we do have some. There has been a lot of attention paid to what we do here at Los Arboles with our wastewater. Greg has just come back from Mexico City, meeting with the director of SEMARNAT, the Mexican EPA. This gentleman is planning to come down here in August with his staff. We are hoping that this will expedite certain things, will give some green lights, will give some favorable treatment, collaboration with the University in Merida, which we have already explored, numerous other things. Let me just say in a short thing, there's a lot of good stuff happening in there, and there's some significant advances made. We now have in the Los Arboles building guidelines, we have now 3 systems that owners can choose from, with which we are comfortable. We've scrutinized them and scrutinized them and scrutinized them. We are constantly testing them. We are examining new ideas. We've just had a meeting yesterday where we had invited the designers of septic systems to come and speak to us as a committee. It was an exceptionally interesting meeting, and there was one new system was adopted to the building guidelines. We are open to new ideas. We subject them to intense scrutiny, and the people that help us with this are getting larger. There's even talk of having a conference on this very topic. I know this is so interesting. On this very topic next year with academics, people from this country, from other parts of the world, because the Yucatan is such a unique geological, topographical, and environmental aspect. Por favor. Por favor. I translate. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Political. Yes. Yes.
They understand him, eh? Not the others.
Can you tell us what those 3 systems are that are approved?
Yes. One is the system that Pepe Blanco has been working on, has designed and refined. It's based on a previous system that was actually developed in Scandinavia. He has modified it to function for this particular environment. It is a composting toilet system. Pepe can give you all the, actually we have, can you have one of them?
Yeah.
Right. And so they installed, they have been working, we have looked at. Then the other one is a combination, is actually what Los Arboles, the development company, has been doing, which is a combination of a traditional septic tank system followed by an humidale, by a planted garden. And then the newest kid on the block is a system that is based on a Piranha technology. I don't need to get into it, but there's all the information. It's now accessible through us. If you send us an email, we can transmit this, which is a combination that, a system that relies on several treatment processes in series. And it's a total of 5 treatment processes. It requires some energy, about as much as an 80-watt light bulb to operate. One of the advantages of the system is it's completely self-contained. There's never any residue left that needs to be removed. Usually a septic tank gathers the stuff and then you have to have it removed at certain intervals. Composting toilets also do the same thing. This one is a system that ultimately at the very end all it does is produce clean water. So these are the options. There's still more work. This is just the beginning of the road. But we're making some significant headways, and we do have viable, cost-effective options. When I say cost-effective, we are in these systems in a ballpark from a low of $6,500 to up to $10,000, depending on a number of variables, size of the house, topography, etc., etc., etc. But that is in a nutshell what we have been working on. If there are any questions, please let me know. If you can't think of them now, think of them later. Send me an email. And I mean, it's a discussion. It's an interesting stuff. If any of you are scientifically inclined, talk to me.
Maybe just explain for a second the reason this is so valuable, so important. I mean, why we put so much labor into this. Because obviously people, you come in with any system you really wanted to, but we decided we needed to put a lot of labor into this. Maybe you should explain why that's so.
There are several issues. There's a philosophical side, there's a legal side. In the philosophical historical side, we have been getting away without paying for the creation of our own waste in this world for some hundreds of thousands of years. Well, this is becoming a critical issue, and we cannot continue anymore. It's not anymore something for green fantasy tree huggers, it's a reality we're staring in the face. So here we have the opportunity to address this in our environment. The second and probably more important one, this community as a legal entity has a contractual agreement with the Environmental Agency of Mexico to treat this land in a very specific manner. We are custodians of the jungle. We are not destroyers of the jungle. We are asked to protect the jungle, and under these, and I'm simplifying this, under these auspices, we signed our name. One of these things says that we will not pollute this particular part of the world, which is already way overstressed as a result of irresponsible hotel developers on the beach who've done nothing but put human waste into the aquifer. We, in order to make this happen, this was an agreement, legally binding, that this community, you, we all signed on the dotted line. So since we signed on the dotted line, it seems to be smart to live according to the contract. Keeps you out of trouble, you know. So this is the two important reasons. One, we should be doing it. The other one, we have to do it. All right? That's it?
Report on nonprofit committee activities.
Hi, my name is Aileen Lobasi. Do you want to come up, Allison? No. My partner Thomas and I have a house, a beautiful house on lot A5. I've been living here for about 10 months, came here in November. I've been here and was charged with the responsibility of the nonprofit at the January meeting. Do you want to vote on the mission statement? Is that, are we going to do that?
You know, why don't you first explain, I think there are a couple of folks in the room who don't know about the nonprofit and
Okay.
what it is. Why don't you explain
The nonprofit committee essentially is a committee that will look for worthy projects in the area to fund projects that will be in keeping with our mission statement. So that when we read the missions, yeah. Eso no puedo decir.
Sí,
No,
sí puedes, sí puedes.
no.
En italiano, porque definitivamente sí puedes.
Tú me ayudas.
No.
Sí, me ayudas, no es la escuela. No, es un test. No.
Sí.
¿Sí?
Ok.
Ok. Entonces, es un comitado para ayudar a la comunidad, ¿no? Y para... oh, come on. This is putting me on the spot. Para encontrar proyectos interesantes que that are in keeping with that,
Para ayudar a la comunidad.
Para apoyar a la comunidad.
para apoyar la comunidad y el mission statement. Lo que no pensamos sea muy importante para la gente que vive aquí y también nuestros vecinos en Tulum. I have the rest of this. Okay. So what I would like to do, this is going to be a little more. What?
Seriously, can we have the whole thing in English?
She
Yeah.
already did the same thing.
This is.
She was translating.
Okay.
No, she hasn't said anything. She was just saying what it is.
I think there's some people that don't understand that there's a portion of their homeowners
Okay.
dues
All right.
that are dedicated to the nonprofit, so they may not understand what it is.
What is it you guys support?
Well, the nonprofit committee, the nonprofit, this fund is a fund that we use to help our community. I mean, can you speak to this? Because
Not
it's
just
just
our community.
In your
but
dues, you
community
pay-
around our community.
Right.
Yes.
In your dues, you pay $834 a year. Of that, $250 goes into the nonprofit fund. Aileen and the people that she's working with distribute those funds. And she's about to tell you about the funds that she's distributed and her plans for the future.
Sí, de los $834 de las cuotas, hay esa cantidad, $250 que se destinan a un fondo que es para ayudar a la comunidad. De hecho, desde que se creó la asociación, está esta obligación, digamos, este objeto, un objeto social, no solamente recabar cuotas, sino ayudar. Y en enero se creó este comité. Who else is in the committee?
Allison?
Allison, comité está por allí. Allison, Thomas.
Laura, you're on the committee as well? I think you
All
are.
right, I'm on the committee now.
I mean, so far that's it.
Okay.
And I think we had, and myself, and I think we were talking about adding to the committee.
Yeah, and let me just say this, that there was a meeting yesterday of the Vigilance Committee, and that Vigilance Committee unanimously, I think I'm right on this, but tell me if I'm not, unanimously agreed that this self-standing committee was doing a great job.
Yes.
Prior to that meeting yesterday, they were having to bring every disbursement to us. We're gonna buy a wheelchair for this, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. We decided that this committee is a self-standing committee and only needed to come back and report to the public at Los Arblas as to what they had decided to do. They did not need to come back and ask for permission to disperse the funds. So it's real important to know that there was a vigilance committee watching everything they were doing. They were doing such a great job, we're like, why are we watching them? They're doing better than what we thought.
Could I address a little bit of this if you allow me? It behooves us to consider those living around us, not just for our own moral purposes, but also out of sheer practicality. We have been working on this for quite some time in order to find the right way to use this money. It is an exceedingly complicated issue to identify projects that actually are realistically benefited. I've done a couple of them outside of this committee. I've done some together with Los Arboles, and it is a path fraught with great traps and potholes. But it is something that gives us an opportunity to benefit those around us in the villages, in town, schools, numerous projects. I mean, if you've ever been in the charitable giving affair, there is, sometimes it takes you asleep. But there are so many things that we can do with very little. And it was the idea of the developer, I believe, who said, I want a community that right from the start understands that a portion of its annual dues are specifically designated to help those that surround us, not us, but those that surround us. And then a committee was started, and this is basically where we are. Alina's done a bang-up job with due diligence and following up and going and doing site visits and so on and so forth. We felt, and the projects were being presented to us, to the Vigilance Committee, and said, we don't need to look at this. She's a competent person, capable of doing this and doing an excellent job, and that is when we decided this is an autonomous committee that only at the end of each year at an HOA meeting will report to you what that committee has done in the preceding year and what ideas it has for the next one. That's in a nutshell. Thank you.
I think before I start, that what Well, he's a big one.
Yeah.
What is important to me about this is that we have a very insular and insulated community. I don't want to live in that kind of community. We're already all foreigners. Many of us know very little about the country that we are going to be living in. And I think we don't want to isolate ourselves. We want to integrate ourselves into this community. And I think there's no better way of creating goodwill between this development and our neighbors than becoming aware of what the needs are.
Okay. Thomas explicó que este es un comité que ha estado pidiendo la autorización del comité de vigilancia para los proyectos, para decisiones, y lo que han recibido como el comité de vigilancia lo consideran, y está incluido REC, es que este comité está funcionando muy bien y que no hace falta que pida permiso o autorización para indicar en qué se van a destinar los fondos. Al final de año el comité es autónomo, los fondos están ahí y el comité reportará en qué se están utilizando. Ali lo que explicó es, bueno, ya de por sí somos extranjeros, la idea no es aislarnos, sino formar parte de la comunidad en la que decidimos vivir. Y por eso esto es una de las razones de brindar un apoyo.
Okay, so I'm going to read this. It may be very boring, but I'm going to read about the project. The first project that we actually funded, and the other two that I'm hoping will be funded within the next couple of months. The first project is CRIM, which is the Centro Rehabilitación Integral Municipal, or it's a rehabilitation clinic in Tulum. It serves Tulum and the outlying areas. The clinic provides physical, speech, and occupational therapy, as well as psychological and social support services to children and adults.
Son distintos proyectos que tienen. Uno es el CRIM, que es el Centro de Rehabilitación Integral Municipal que asiste en Tulum.
Yeah. Okay, it's the only clinic of its kind in Tulum and the outlying area. This is important. The materials that we specified in the purchase are items needed by the staff to ensure quality care to patients. Some funding comes from the municipal government, but it is very limited.
Este centro está, lo ubicado, los funding, lo fondea el municipio, pero no financia.
Okay.
El municipio, pero es muy limitado.
Okay, so Muncie and I want to thank Muncie for allowing me. Muncie and I visited the clinic and spoke to each staff member, inquiring about the nature of their particular work, what they need to provide optimum service to their clients. Much of what we will purchase, like hot and cold packs, gel, cables to use with various machines, walkers for adults, walkers for children, canes, just so you know what we are buying. An electric recliner that's used as physical therapy are not available right now to serve the clients of this clinic. Some of the equipment needs updating. The air conditioning in the physical therapy room is not sufficiently strong. There's no lift to get wheelchair-bound patients into a tub for therapy. So things that we take for granted in the United States do not exist here. The toys that are necessary to work with children are lacking. I could go on and on. One thing to keep in mind is that public schools here do not have language pathologists, physical therapists, or special education teachers on staff. This is where kids are referred to. And I think it's a really good opportunity to make a real impact on people's lives. And I also think that who knows when we're going to need physical therapy. If one of us falls here, that's where we're going.
Está mencionando a los faltantes, ¿no? En este centro integral, desde paquetes de, bueno, no sé, son cosas
máquinas,
máquinas, caminadoras, elevadores,
juguetes para los niños
y hasta terapeutas de lenguaje, etcétera.
What the fund that we've allocated is $8,018.41 for these materials, which have been ordered, will be ordered within the next few days, will come here, we will take them to the clinic, we will make site visits to the clinic to keep tabs on how these are being used, just keep updating you and the members of the committee on how well it's going with this clinic, because I think this should be ongoing. These are things that are used up very quickly.
How much was that?
It was $8,018.41.
100,000 pesos.
$8,018 fueron lo que se destinó para comprar. Ya se compraron este
Sí.
equipo.
And if anybody is interested, you know, we have printouts of every item that we've purchased and the cost of each item. Okay, the second is a proposed project, which is a palapa for the Gregorio Canwich School in Tulum. The approximate cost of this is also $8,000. Just happens to be $8,000, about $8,000. I visited this school with a friend of mine a couple of months ago. It's the only full-day primary school in Tulum. It runs from 8 to 3. Most schools here go from 8 to 11:30 or 12, and then there is a second session in some schools, but children do not get a full day of school.
Según el proyecto es una escuela. El costo del proyecto va a ser también como de aproximadamente $8,000, y esto es en una escuela que aquí en Tulum que atiende a los niños de 8 a 3. 380 niños atienden.
Yeah. So 380 children, 60% of whom are indigenous or Maya. The configuration of the school is poor, with classrooms small and crowded, like 30 kids in a room, not even as big as this, like half the size of this. The administration has made an effort to plant some trees for shade, but the play area affords no shade or relief from the elements. So essentially, you have classrooms on one side, classrooms on the other side, an area in the middle with no shade whatsoever. That's where kids eat, that's where kids play, that's where kids do any kind of outdoor activity.
El proyecto es una palapa, y explicaba que tienen los salones, no hay ninguna zona.
The palapa will serve as a central meeting place for students and teachers, as it does in many surrounding Mayan pueblos. If you go to a Mayan pueblo, there's always a central area. The lucky ones have a palapa so that there is affords some shade and protection from the weather. Children will be able to eat under the palapa in the fresh air and enjoy the nature that surrounds them. Because classrooms are so small and crowded, the palapa area, and this is important, will afford the students the ability to spread out and experience hands-on activities in subjects like science and art.
Where is that school in town?
It's on the southern end of town. The government of Quintana Roo has just initiated a program in schools calling for 90 minutes of daily reading. That's not all one period of 90 minutes, but they're requiring the children spend 90 minutes out of their day doing some kind of reading. Generally, children do not have a great deal of silent or group reading time in schools. Students will use the palapa for this reading time. Okay, the teachers I spoke to were really excited about the project. They were planning to have their meetings and activities involving parents and community in this space. So essentially, the palapa is an important place for the school community as a whole. The administrator of the school hopes to create 2 new projects in conjunction with the building of the palapa, teaching reforestation and organic local food cultivation, and an organic garden is planned next to the palapa. The structure can be built within 6 weeks. It would be important for the children to see the actual building process, inspiring them to respect the function of the Palapa Green Building and their relationship to the natural world. Pending approval, materials will be purchased and construction will be supervised by Don Marcial Morales de la Rosa, for whom we have many excellent references, and he's waived his fee and doing this job at cost. Yes?
You might mention that it's also possible for us privately to participate in the projects that are being considered by our foundation, and I certainly encourage everybody to do this. We've done some wonderful, and it works really.
I'm going to a similar area. Have you spoken with the principal about the idea, for example, after I left Wall Street and I was able to retire, I taught English as a second language to immigrants, and I also got certified to do so, and also taught literacy and very illiterate children in inner city.
Well, this is something I'd like to talk about when I finish. I only have one more thing to do, because I think as this community grows, we're going to have incredible resources. And there are many schools in this area that would be thrilled to have you and to have anybody else who might volunteer to help in any way, especially in teaching English. Finally, Patti and I and Antonella visited a center in Playa yesterday that is run by Save the Children, and you may know Save the Children Foundation. It's a worldwide foundation. Before I talk about the actual center, I'd like to cite some examples from a Save the Children publication which deals with specific problems facing Quintana Roo, in which the organization Save the Children is now involved. This is a little long-winded, but...
Sí, comenta que
Está bien.
este proyecto con
No, they
Save the
understand.
Children.
Sí, okay. So, according to the United Nations, at least 27 million people are the victims of exploitation and human trafficking worldwide. And the state of Quintana Roo is cited as a site of origin, transit, and destination. Something I learned that I wasn't aware of, that we talked about yesterday, right? Quintana Roo represents the state with the largest percentage of children at 29%, state in terms of states in Mexico. It also is the state with the highest incidence of death among children due to abandonment, abuse, and insufficient care. The rate and frequency of juvenile crime, this is children from 8 years of age, has increased in this area according to the World Health Organization. According to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, an international organization to which Mexico and the U.S. belong, Mexico is the last country in this group of nations, a very large group, to have solved the problem of obtaining a quality education. Okay. Save the Children's mission is to inspire advances in the way in which the world's children are treated by effecting immediate and long-lasting changes in their lives. Their objective is to contribute to the integral development of children and adolescents in Mexico by helping them to understand their rights, their value as human beings, while helping them also acquire the means by which they will become productive citizens. And this is basically their mission statement, if I translate. In Quintana Roo, this takes the form of educational drop-in centers.
Ajá, ludotecas son la forma en la que Save the Children apoya es con ludoteca.
In Playa Cancun and Tulum.
En Playa Cancún y Tulum.
See, centers serve over 2,300 children each month. And Save the Children organizes workshops for 2,100 children in area schools, recreational and drop-in spaces for over 6,000, for a total of 10,000 children served in this area. There are a number of sponsors, Xcaret, Shelha, USAID, OXXO, Home Depot, and Secrets Resorts and Spas. And I am hopeful that this community, Los Albertos Tulum, can find a meaningful way to forge a lasting relationship with Save the Children here in Quintana Roo. Would you like to talk about what we have discussed about people
About people and their
volunteering?
resources.
Mhm.
Well, I don't want to take a whole lot, huge amount of time here,
but one of the things that Aileen and I have been talking about is that even for people who are not living here at the moment, but who are in the United States or wherever they are, Canada or Mexico, there, if you could touch base with Aileen and I, there are a lot of things that that you can do that sometimes involve your business or corporate giving or approaching businesses and getting things like materials that we can use in the nonprofit committee to funnel to some of these endeavors. So it would be great if people would I don't want to spend a lot of time here, but if you could email us about what our ideas about
For
this
example,
are.
the incoming physician, the physician who sees the incoming patients did not have, I don't know the technical name, an instrument to examine the ears and the eyes.
Yeah.
So if anyone has connections to a medical supply company or a hospital where, you know, they may have extras, and I'm sure in the United States these things are, you know, they have 2 and 3 of each in each department. That would be fantastic.
Well, how good is the hospital?
Excuse me?
Excellent. I nearly cut my arm off and you see I have it. Outstanding. Outstanding.
Yeah, but we're not going to get that from them.
Fabulous service.
We're not going to get that from them.
It's a private.
This is a private clinic. Okay, do we want to vote on this mission statement? Was that what we were going to do?
Can you get the mission
Vamos
statement?
a votar. No, es que tenemos que votar. Yeah. The mission statement is in your, no, everybody has a copy of it, right? Okay, we're gonna, vamos a votar a aceptar o no?
Sí, para ratificar.
Sí, ratificar. Okay, no, aceptar, ratificar. Okay. So the mission statement reads, to promote the empowerment, and if anybody wants to change anything, please speak up. To promote the empowerment of people through the stewardship of the land and water, respect for and celebration of cultural diversity, education. You can't hear me?
Nope, there's too much stuff going on in the back.
Okay. To promote the empowerment of people through the stewardship of land and water, respect for and celebration of cultural diversity, educational opportunities for women and girls and boys and men, but particularly for women and girls, and delivery of health services to the citizens of Quintana Roo.
En español.
En español.
I second.
Anybody in favor?
Aye. Opposed?
Next year I'll be able to bring this to Spanish.
I just want to say something. I just got to tell you that when this issue came up to the developer, and I appreciate someone saying whether it was the developer's idea. It wasn't the developer's idea. What really happened was that we had someone on our staff that had a huge, huge heart for this type of giving back. And from the very beginning, even to the point of saying 30% of what you are going to give us is going to go to doing these wonderful things. We stood fast by it, we developed it, we did it, we insisted. You don't want to pay it, you don't buy. And we were very strong in this. And the fruits that you're seeing today and the 60 or 70,000 that we spent prior to this to do really great things was truly the brainchild of Patricia Salcedo, and I'd like everyone to acknowledge that. I think, Hunter, you're up next.
So I'm going to talk for about 40 minutes about the. See ya. I want to do a quick review of building in Los Arboles. So with my first year here, I was able to see the beginning and end, or the beginning and end of a couple projects. I gained a further understanding of how we build out here, what's the process, suggested some changes. As we grow, we're learning, and we've made some changes. As Thomas mentioned earlier, there's 3 systems that we now have that we approve. The guidelines are being revised, and everybody will have a copy once you feel like they should be. But today, just want to talk about what do you do, how do you build a house here, what are we looking for, what is the Vigilance Committee checking for. We have changed up the process a little bit. But after all your paperwork's done, your taxes have been paid, you're current with the administration, and you're going to start a project, you are issued what we call the approval log. And it's basically a list, and it's real straightforward. You do these items, you go to the next step. You do these items, you go to the next step. But in a nutshell, when you're ready to start, when you want to build, you're going to meet with your builder, your architect, you get your plan. You're going to go to your lot, and ideally, you're going to walk around and say, I like this spot. I like these trees. I like the land. Once you have located this, you're going to draw it up on paper and submit a site plan to the Vigilance Committee, who's going to review it and say, okay, it's not more than 5% check. It's your house footprint isn't more than 30%. You're complying with all the lists, all the guidelines in the list. Once you get that initial approval, then you have to go in, have a driveway cleared, and then clear paths for the engineers to come out and do the soil study test. We have a lot of caverns in this area underneath us, not to be worried about, but you want to make sure, and you're required by the city to make sure you're not building on top of one of those. And if you are, sometimes there's extra concrete that can be put in a beam or more steel. But we want to have that test done before you go in and fully clear your lot. It could be that the area you want to site the house is not stable enough, so you have to shift it 20 meters, 30 meters. But after the sounding comes back, green light, then you would have a surveyor, a licensed surveyor, not someone with an iPhone or with just a handheld GPS, but surveying equipment come out and survey the area, the cleared area you want. They will stake it off, install a rope or a string line, and that remains it's supposed to remain the entire time of construction. Once you have complied with the survey and engineering study, that's when you go in and you clear your lot. After you clear your lot, there's a couple other things. There's several other items you have to do to receive a building permit from Los Arboles. You're going to have to satisfy the city as well. But we're going to have a meeting with the builder. We're going to go over all the steps and have him sign, and they agree to all our guidelines. All the builders that are building out here now have had these pre-construction meetings, but we still meet and talk about them and go over stuff. The Vigilance Committee is going to review your architectural plans. That includes the structural plans, the electrical, the gas, and your wastewater system plans. And once those are approved from the Vigilance Committee, which again, they're mainly looking to make sure that you are complying with our guidelines, and you receive your permit from the city, then you will be given a permit from Los Arboles. Everybody that has bought in Los Arboles should have received the construction guidelines. The last copy was April 25th, 2012. In that packet, there's this addendum, the approval log. So it has changed a little bit in the order. In the beginning, we were giving permits to clear before the sounding was done, or the license survey. And as a result, we've run into a couple problems with over-clearing or clearing an area, then learning that it wasn't suitable, so then having to clear more. And we're trying to remove all potential errors that you could make in the process. Any questions?
One, is that document on the portal?
It should be. Yes.
On the what?
On the portal.
Yeah, and you also signed it when, you should have a copy of it, but it should be on the portal too.
Might have been asleep, I don't know.
I know.
Well, it's an addendum to the construction guidelines that you did receive.
You gotta watch out for me.
They're good to know.
Boy.
Anything else?
Boy, you drive them away.
Yeah. All right, I think next up, let me just say that the taco guy is here. He will have tacos ready in 30 to 40 minutes.
All right.
So let's get the pace going.
Yeah.
All right, the next person that's going to be talking is Ray.
You know, I'm gonna do this.
No.
Ray, if you know, I'm gonna do this for Ray because he's,
You did a survey and you don't know the results?
All right,
Okay.
I'll do it.
All right, so let's go, or maybe we can present this for, have people reviewed it, or do you want to go
Is there
through the whole
anybody
thing?
here who hasn't seen
You
the?
sent it out to us, so.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah,
why it's presented.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to speak to a couple of things. And the reason we sent the survey out is because some of the questions that were asked were relevant to budget issues. We really need to get a feeling for who was planning to build and when, and, I mean, that was important. And also, I think it was interesting for all of us to see sort of a demographic profile of who's living here, because we haven't done anything to reach out and compile those statistics yet. So this gives us a picture, age, fluency in language, etc. And also to get an idea of what you all expect from the administration here, like what level of service you expect. And I think, there were some interesting answers, and it looks like people are expecting a relatively high level of service from the administration in terms of, I have to go back here actually and look at some of the questions, but, you want the administration to facilitate communication among you all. You want help with getting things done locally here, that you may not have the contact information to achieve on your own. Communication, as I said. And, I had this question on here about consensus. We have some issues here where there is likely to be conflict among people who have different visions of what they want out of living at Los Arboles. And, there are certain techniques. We have Ray here, who is a psychologist, which is a good thing. He's looking like, oh. And, there are certain things where if we have disagreements, where we can bring people together on committees and they can talk out their agreements and decide how to find a happy medium in terms of conflicting interests, and that can be facilitated by the administration just in terms of bringing the committee together and having somebody there sort of in mediation to be a neutral party. So that was the purpose of the survey. We're going to get to some specific questions that were raised later. So that's that for that. Does anybody have any questions about that? Any further questions? Okay. And
How many people are planning to build the next year?
how many people are planning to build? I'll tell you. Sorry, you guys. I don't have it at the top of my tongue. Head, I mean.
It doesn't really matter, it's kind of.
It's something like.
Curiosity cat here.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Planning to build within the next 1 to 2 years, 20. We had a response of 100 people to this survey, which only represents, essentially half the lots. So you could interpolate that and say 40 if you really wanted to be loosey-goosey about it. So, that's what we know. Okay, so issues to vote on. I'm not going to go entirely by our agenda here because we've had a vigilance committee meeting and certain things have changed as a result of the meeting. We already talked about water usage charges, infrastructure. Yesterday we talked about water infrastructure, and we were considering making that a separate charge for repairs, but we decided it would be better for the time being to roll that into the capital recovery fund, the general capital recovery fund, which we don't anticipate any major repairs in the next year. This is open for review. We have to see what cash flow looks like, and we might revisit that later.
So, I'm sorry, but the first one, you just said the new potable water meter reading.
Yeah, that we mentioned before. To be specific, we need to charge in addition to usage. I thought we discussed, but maybe not. In addition to your actual raw usage, in other words, the cubic meters or gallons of water that you use in your home, there are other charges that are involved in generating that water usage to get it to your home, which are, for example, electrical usage at the pump, because the pumps are running constantly and they need to be powered. And also there needs to be a meter reading charge, because as we go around and we read meters, and you know, Payne Con Agua Monse will tell you she had to take a course, a one-day course to learn how to pay Con Agua online, because it is so complicated. It's like unbelievable how complicated it is.
Those water usage fees, so are these for people who are only using water?
Yeah.
Or are these for?
Yeah, they're for people who are using water, and I forget what we decided yesterday. We were going to come up with a rate that would be prorated per gallon used,
Right.
so
if
that
you're not
people
using it.
if you're not using any water, you don't pay anything. If you're not hooked up to community water, right? It's only for people with water. Okay, water testing. We had some. These are just issues that came up for discussion. I'm not going to talk about that now. We voted on the mission statement, and so we're good with that. And we have a couple of other things that we need to vote on. Let me get my list here. Thank you. That's not the list. Where is it? Oh yeah, delinquent dues. Okay, here's the stuff for vote. First, let's do the votes, and then we'll talk about delinquent dues. I'm just trying to rush through this because I know everybody's getting fidgety. Okay, so one thing we need to talk about is putting this administrator search committee together, and it was Monse and Hunter will help write the job description, because they know what all the tasks are that need to be done, and we'd like to take 3 people from the Homeowners Association to join them on that committee to help write the description and conduct the search. So volunteers. Allison and
There's gotta be somebody here.
yeah, Allison. Okay, so Allison Wilcox volunteers.
I want to be on that committee.
Greg, 2.
Is it gonna require a physical presence to do this?
No, we can do everything by Skype, which is what we've been doing with the VC, et cetera. So.
Yeah, we could do a lot of this by conference, but
It's
I think.
helpful to be here periodically.
Yeah, well, just to have a feel for the lay of the land. It's
I would like to
easier, yeah.
have Monse of my group on that committee.
Yeah.
I would like to be on that committee. Allison, you would like to? Okay.
Okay.
Anyone else like to be on the committee? All right, all in favor? All opposed? Okay, thank you all.
Okay, so there's that. And, uh-oh. You never know what that means. And I think that's it. I just don't want to be missing anything because I'm rushing. Multiple occupancy, okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right, yeah, we had, there was something raised at the Vigilance Committee meeting about multiple occupancy in houses, and it was brought to our attention that there were some issues where that might be a problem, because that is not allowed according to the building guidelines, and we were wondering how we should move ahead and address that.
Okay, in the future, we anticipate that people would like to rent their homes out, okay? That in itself is a good thing. We were, I think, fairly good about establishing that this was a single-family residential community, but I don't know if in the beginning we were really good about handling all the little issues. Can I put my house in HOME-AWAY and rent it for 2 days at a time? Can I rent my house out by the month? Can I rent half of my house out to people that I don't know? There's a lot of issues here I don't know that we can discuss it and debate it right now, but we're going to have to come up with a baseline for this. We're currently looking at what the current laws are here for taxation. That may be a baseline. If you rent it out by the day, you may be a hotel, you may be subject to taxation. Ultimately, it's going to come down to some very important issues that are really security-based and managing that. Because if I am not renting my house out, but the people next door are renting their house out, do they bring their dog and let him go and run through the wild and chase off with Mundi? Because they just don't know. They don't really have the, you know, or do they party all night long because they're really on vacation? And there's a lot of issues that are going to come out of this. So I don't think this is something for today, but I think the Vigilance Committee is going to, yes, Laura?
I was, just to interrupt you briefly, it occurred to me that if people have ideas about this, maybe it's a good idea to start sending them to the administrator, to the vigilance, to get a discussion on ideas or parameters. So for the next meeting, there can be a much more concrete plan or discussion rather than this sort of general thing like this, so.
I think that's where I was just headed. Thank you. Took the words right out of my mouth.
Just like that.
Just like that. What we're going to do is we're going to collect everyone's ideas. Let's have the public outreach. Let's have all the opportunities for everyone to put their views in. Let's take them all, put them on the board, and at the next meeting, I'll bet you we spend a half hour on this and we end up with a vote. Okay? But know this is coming because it's an issue that maybe needs a little bit of battleground. Yes?
It will be a particular vote to amend regulations. Depending what you all guys decide, it will be a particular vote of a quorum.
Okay.
We cannot just change the guidelines like
Well, the guidelines, I think, are not real clear.
they're very basic.
Yeah,
but
we're
they don't
pretty
say
basic, but we're going to change our own guidelines to be more specific.
I just want to make sure that the people who don't, because I think this is a really important issue, and the people that don't speak.
Sí. Estamos hablando de el tema de ocupación, bueno, surgió ocupación múltiple de las viviendas, es el tema de la agenda. No ha surgido un caso, pero el reglamento no dice nada en específico y la ley no dice nada. Este es un residencial de casas unifamiliares, pero hay una realidad de que pueden rentar el día de mañana quien quiera su casa. Entonces comentaba Greg, y si la rentan a alguien que viene nada más por 2 días y no está tan involucrado como el resto, de que son, que cuál es, como el espíritu de este condominio, de que no puede traer su perro, de que, etcétera, ¿no? Entonces, cuando es hablar un poquito en general de supuestos futuros y conforme a lo que propone Susan y Greg, que empiecen todos a enviar propuestas de qué opinan, de notas, de qué sugieren para que en un futuro lleguen a acuerdos sobre cómo la gente puede rentar, no puede rentar cuánto, ver que, bueno, esto es lo que va a surgir de las propuestas y tomarán una decisión.
Okay, so that's coming. There'll be a lot of discussion. If you have input, please give it. Let's talk real quick about the report on collection delinquent dues, Preddy on HOA. We're owed about $70,000 on HOA. I think people are, maybe we're not being pushy enough. It will get to a point that it's going to be a cash flow issue soon. So we're going to get a little bit more pushy by everyone getting their dues in. We do have 2 particular people that have not paid their dues, will not pay their dues, have no intention of paying their dues. We have implied the delinquency interest and penalties to it, which is pretty substantial. And we have turned it over to our attorney, who will start in a week or 2 with filing lawsuit against those people. Huh? I don't really want to put their names out there. None of them are here, but I don't. Do you want me to?
I have a question.
In case you know them.
As an HOA, are we supposed to know or not know?
To follow up legally with names, to put it in a minute, so the legal process can start.
Okay. There are 2 people that are 3 years behind or 4, and there are 2 people that are at least 2 years behind. Everyone else is current.
They paid off their land.
They have paid off their land. Yes.
You should know that we do have on the portal, on the website, there is a standard operating procedure posted for the way in which we approach this problem, and it's posted for everybody to see. So
here to approve will be that everybody approves to have the legal process start.
And against all of them, because Greg just made a distinction between somebody that was only 2 years behind and another one that was 4 years behind. Is it all of those that are behind?
Legal
No,
process.
we're only gonna go after
Depending
2
on
of
you.
them.
That's what I want.
Depending on you.
I think that we shouldn't, number one, I think that a letter needs to go out next week. Margie and I talked about this. We'll get a letter out and say, hey, your dues are delinquent. You got 30 days to come due. Otherwise, we're gonna start giving the mandatory penalties. And we'll see how that plays out by the end of the year. Okay, and we've done a really good job as of a half a year ago of getting everyone's current information and addresses. People who have looked at me, and I've made a couple of notes, and people said, hey, I hadn't gotten anything from you. I'm going to suggest to you that you haven't gotten anything from me, because I'm current with everybody that chooses to be current. So I don't have a lot of, so what, yes?
If you're sending out a letter next week, then why are we gonna wait till the end of the year, allow them to be another 6 more months delinquent before we hear anything back?
I'm just saying that it's next time I'm going to see you and report to you. I hope the report is I collected everything.
Okay.
But on these 2 particular people,
But you're not giving them till the end of the year?
no, we're going to go ahead and right now, we're going to go into full legal action.
Then do a motion so everybody approves that we put the legal terminology here so it can be started. If they react with it after that document, perfect. And if not, we are ready to start the.
How did you, why 2 and not all 4?
Yeah.
Greg?
Well, if I could find, I've got a lot of things open here, but if I could find the delinquency, does anyone have the delinquency report? Do you have it?
I don't have it right here.
Okay, well, I can't do this from memory. It's not a good idea. Not my memory, anyway.
We cover the customer?
Yeah.
Going after them? with
Yeah.
But Greg, can you answer
should announce that.
why only 2 people instead of the 4 people?
See, because the lawyers.
I just, why file 4 lawsuits? Let's see if our test cases hold up to what we think. I don't, it's up to y'all. I got 2 others that are at least 2 years in arrears.
So how many people? What's the total? The total amount?
Total amount of dollars on all of those people would be almost $11,000.
They do all 4, so if they don't pay, they pay legal fees too.
Well, they will pay legal fees the minute I start.
But the attorneys will have to approve the legal fees of, I don't know, I'm not a litigator, but it's like 20% of the amount to be covered.
Okay, I'd like to,
That's why there's the interest.
I'd like to entertain a motion that y'all agree that at the administrator's discretion, that I will actively sue up to 4 of the most delinquent people on our list.
I have a question though.
Okay?
What is our liability of the suit? Is there any liability in the suit? Okay.
And let me explain to you what happens, even though I'm not a lawyer. And in layman's terms, we file a criminal lawsuit against them or a lawsuit. If we win that lawsuit, they pay all of our penalties that were established by this group, all of the money they owe, all of the lawyers' fees. If they just don't show up and they're apathetic and we win, then the judge does this, we don't do this, it's not an independent action. The judge will put up for auction the lot to the highest bidder. If they end up owing us $10,000 from a $4,000 bill, the first $10,000 will go to us to pay our bills, and if it sells for $20,000, the other 10 will go to the owner of the lot.
What if there's
What if there's a house on it? Doesn't matter.
Well, you're going to the
Mexican?
last stage, eh? That's not so quick in Mexico.
What?
Este,
Well, and once you file the case, yes, Mark.
The question that I have, if we are going to establish a precedent here about going after people who haven't paid, do we have any idea, any communication with them, why they haven't paid?
We
Because
have,
if we, just to finish, if we establish a lawsuit against somebody who's 4 years in the rear, and the judge looks at this lawsuit and says, well, yeah, but this and this and this is why they're not paid. I'm saying, have we had any communication with these people as to why they haven't paid? And if so, does that make us vulnerable by going after them if they have a legitimate reason not to pay?
in the case of 2 of them, the most delinquent, one of them has their lot for sale. They will not return any messages of any current addresses we have or anything. And on one of them, we've actually gone to the real estate agent and we have said, you tell them, they haven't paid their dues and we're suing them.
Okay.
And supposedly that message got to that person and a phone call was made that says, I don't have any money, when I sell my lot, I'll pay.
and when they sell the lot, they have to, because by law, you have to be up to date of your maintenance fees.
It's like a lien on your property.
Yeah, it's like a lien. Applied to- yes,
So
sir.
that pretty much answers my question. What I'm saying is if somebody hasn't said, look, I fell down and broke my neck, I'll catch up. That kind of thing we should be sympathetic to. But if somebody's just not corresponding and has no intercourse between us, then we should definitely.
That's why I'm asking in this motion that at the discretion of the administrator, with the approval of the VC, that the general public here, because you have to, it has to be a vote here, would approve legal action.
I so move that.
Second. All in favor? Opposed? Okay.
And that's for us to 4?
Yes.
We're up to 4.
Para proceder contra los que no han pagado, y va a ser a discreción del administrador con el comité de vigilancia para iniciar, ver cuál sí y cuál no, etc.
Greg, one more question. There's 2 that are 3 or 4 years, and there's 2 that are like 2 years.
Yeah.
Are there others that are a year?
All the rest of them are either a year and a half or 1 year. I've got some people that thought they paid, but then they figured out they hadn't, and I got some, or they paid a weird amount. I think that'll clean up very nicely. It did last year. I think it's more of an administrative thing. We sent out the bills. We don't
Also,
get
it might be like not even getting the bill, for example, you know?
That's what they all say.
Checks in the mail.
Yeah. Okay. Predial taxes. We're going to do it different this year. Last year, I paid $27,000 in predial taxes for everything I own, everything that's out here. Then I went back to people and I said, hey, I got your taxes for $75. And I need $50 for doing that, which helps to pay the administrative. So I have countless people who have said, you never should have done that. And looked at me and said, what are you charging me $50 for? So in response to that, I'm not going to pay anyone's things this year unless they prepay. So we'll get you out something, an estimate, prepay your 50. If for 50 savings, $50, you want to go down, stand in line 3 times and pay $600 is what you will pay. Because my negotiating power with Monse in aggregate is much better than y'all's. So that's what's going to happen now, because I'm still trying to collect about $10,000. But what I did find out is for those people, I'm going to go unpay those dues. I can do that because I have the receipt.
So are you
Yeah.
going to send out an email to those of us who
Yeah,
want to pay?
Margie and I are going to coordinate that in the next month because we pay that in December.
Okay.
But I'm going down there with money that y'all give me, and I'm going to represent y'all the best I can. And then I'm going to give you a refund or charge you a little bit more, whatever it came out to be.
Right.
So so we're not going to fund it up front this time, just so everyone knows. That's all I got to say about that. Let's go to open discussion, and in that, let's talk about when y'all want to meet next. I think it's after the first of the year. January, February, anyone?
Last year was third week in January.
January works.
After the airfare gets cheaper.
Yeah.
Well, I would prefer maybe February, because by then the financials can be done, because that's the next time we present full out financial. Do we go with February?
February's
All right.
good.
Do we have to set the date now? All right, we can do that later. Okay, open discussion. Yes.
Just question about the community center. I know Margie mentioned it was gonna be, or Hunter, I guess, mentioned November, give or take, whatnot. But there seems to be not a lot of clarity on what is in the community center. I've heard there's a gym. I've heard there isn't a gym. I've heard it's gonna be just for events. I've heard, no, it's not. So I'd like, right, and so I think what those rooms are, especially now that we see this building up, and what their purpose is gonna be, if you could speak to that, Greg, that would
Yes,
be
when you
great.
walk up to the community center, there will be a large palapa area that's in the circular. You can see the base of it already set. Over to your right is a clear span area that's for 4 or 5 tables to sit around, but it's all underneath an arch and everything. If you go straight, you will go up to the stairways and go upstairs, or you will go to the men's restroom, which will have 2 urinals, 3 urinals, and 1 commode, or you will go to the women's, and I think it has 2 commodes and 2 sinks. If you go over to the left, you will walk up to a pass-through counter into a full-service kitchen. We'll have a refrigerator, stove, storage area, a mop sink in the back for cleanliness and things like that. It'll have a roll down, so if we decide to have a potluck or something, we roll it up, everyone brings their stuff, we lay it out on the counter for a buffet feed, but we can close it all up and the refrigerator and everything can be in there. There'll be a, when you go upstairs, there'll be a large room. You can go up there and look at it now. I say a large room, it's maybe in total, maybe 60% of this room. When you're in that room, you can go to your right or your left and you can go onto a rooftop. There will be a sliding door, and there will be a rooftop area that mirrors the kitchen below and that open area below on both sides. And they'll have a 3-foot mansard around them. And it's been suggested, and you can do whatever y'all want to do. It's up to y'all. You want to put a gym upstairs? There's only going to be 1 air conditioner in it. That's going to be actually in the room upstairs. The reason for that is if we decide to have a marriage or a bar mitzvah or anything, we'll have a place for people to be in an air-conditioned situation if they're wearing a big dress or a tux or whatever. If you're looking at the community center, the little preservation area where the chicleros used to be, they used to grind corn, will stay intact. Behind that, we're going to have a playground for the kids. You'll see some very large stones that we excavated. Those will be cleaned up. They will be like a jungle gym. It'll be a very natural playing area. We will bring in some of the zapote logs, and we're going to create a situation that stimulates children. There's a whole science behind playgrounds now and stimulating children with natural habitat. That's what we're going to do there. If you go over to the left, there will be a pool. The pool will have a 50-foot lap capacity. Is that right? Am I saying that right? Yeah, there'll be a lap pool. There'll be a section of it, maybe kidney-shaped, that will come off and be for kids, and there'll be sort of an adult section, and entirely all the way around it will be areas for picnicking and sitting around and sunbathing. There'll be a full off-the-grid facility to run every bit of this. We think that we're going to go ahead and put 2 of the approved septic systems in. I think we're going to I already ordered the Piranha system. I think we're gonna look at a traditional system, and we're going to maybe do some testing there, in case we go over capacity. The septic committee is sort of tasked with that, and coming up with something. I'm going to put a cover, a palapa cover over the stage, and we're gonna have electricity run to there, so if any of y'all have a combo that you're resurrecting from the 70s, bring your guitars out and do it. I think that's it, really.
I think there's one room on the ground floor that also looks to be enclosed. Like if you're looking at it, I know there's that where you're gonna talk about the kitchen and the roll down, but then there's a room to the left, like on the side of the the left of the stairs, and then you're talking about the room up above.
Are you facing the
We're
building?
facing it, you're facing the building.
To the left is the kitchen.
So what's on the right then?
To the right, it's an open area.
It's just open, okay, I thought.
We could enclose it, but
Okay, no, I thought, okay, so I thought that was it. So
if
then
we ever decide we need more room, I have made the structure such that the 2 roof areas upstairs could very simply be enclosed, and structures there.
And so, and then what you're talking about, possibility of a gym, and I don't know if we need to vote on this because there's certainly been a lot of talk, everybody I've spoken to would like it, would be that second room upstairs. Is that what you're talking about? Is it a possibility?
Yes, I think, let's get the vigilance committee out there and look at it, and y'all do whatever you want to do with it. What's happening here on this whole gym thing is it's like, just tell you what happens in my world. Every January 1st, I go down and I join the gym, and they never see me. And we're gonna have a gym that's gonna be used a lot, and there's a bunch of people that support that. Hip hip hooray. I also got a bunch of yoga people that I never see any yoga around here.
Right.
So let's just sort of take it as it goes, but I'm building the building. Gonna be a treadmill. You got a treadmill? Bring it on, we'll put it in.
No, I don't have.
All right, so anything for open discussion?
Can I say one thing? One question that came up a lot on the survey, people are concerned about internet service. And for anybody who really wants to know, anybody here or anybody who's watching on video, there's a service in Tulum called WiMAX, which is really the best one. There's the other one is, you guys have it, Playa, what is it called?
Internet Cancun. We have
All right, Internet Cancun, yeah, which is less reliable, but WiMAX, they have fiber line going right to Tulum, and then it's wireless from there, so they're, what? WIMEX, there's their information. We have wireless from their trunk in Tulum. But they have fiber optic. I was just talking to the guy today. They have fiber optic coming into Tulum via Cable Mas. And they're
fiber optic out here?
No, there's an unused fiber optic line that runs past the gate. Is my understanding that doesn't have any juice running through it.
Goes all the way to Valladolid.
It goes all the way to Valladolid.
When you sign up for it,
There's a new cable.
Yeah, that line was put in prior to me putting in this development, and I know personally that it's cut in about 5 different areas as they put in stuff down there. That line they'll have to redo. We didn't cut ours, but it's cut.
Anyway, the question, I'm sorry, let me just finish up with this. The cost is, it's around, I think, $1,500 to put up your antenna and your tower, and then they have different levels of service. It's like you can get 3 megabytes per second up to 9 megabytes per second, and then you pay according to the amount of bandwidth that you get. And for 3 megabytes per second, it's 900 pesos a month, and then it goes on up from there. So that was something that a lot of people were concerned about. So I just wanted that on the record. Yeah, Ken.
Just as another alternative, I've been speaking with Playa Wireless. WiMAX never returned my calls. They did twice out of dozens of calls, and then they gave me information that they said they had been to my house and checked out the site and obviously hadn't, and they described where they wanted to put the tower.
Yeah, the one.
Playa Wireless has been very nice. They're expanding their service into Tulum. Theirs is 875 pesos a month, no tower costs, no installation fees, with a 1-year contract.
Okay, all right, well, that's good to know. Yeah, the guys at WiMAX do have language issues, because they're French speakers.
Oh, great.
They're French speakers, and they, they're with either Spanish or English. There are some issues there, but if you speak French, they're like really easy to communicate with. And I'm sorry, did you have a question?
My lot's all the way in the back. I mean, it is all the way in the back. Can I get CD service?
Yeah.
Can I get phones?
Yep.
Cell phone service way back there?
Through internet.
No, you can also get it through repeater.
Through repeater?
Yeah, I mean, we just installed it at a project and it's excellent. With a cell phone repeater. Just catches the signal from up high and brings it down low.
So they put that up, say, for the television, for the internet?
Say you can put one masthead up that can have the internet receiver, the receiver for the cell phone repeater, and whatever kind of internet you want. You could put your wind generator up there, and you could put, if we end up doing repeaters for these CD radios that are, everything could go through that one deal.
I'd like to request that the administrator over the next couple of weeks maybe talk to these people that are real knowledgeable about this and this new information. I didn't know that. That's excellent.
Should go on the portal.
I think we should put it on the portal. Let's do some white papers on this so we all have it, because these are huge things. Okay. Anything else anyone wants to talk about? I just want to say I really appreciate y'all's time, your effort, especially the effort of the different committees. You just can't believe how many great things they're doing for y'all. This meeting, I think, is a testament to how well this community is growing and maturing and doing some great stuff. And I just want to tell you that I appreciate all of y'all. If there's anything I can do for you, let me know. Thanks, y'all.